We will
YouTube.
done. I'll record to this cloud.
अभी pause कर दे.
Yeah.
On Facebook.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let me formally welcome you to this forum. First of all, thank you so much on behalf of the entire Kashmiri Overseas Association and our community at large. Honestly, it doesn't feel like, you're not part of our community anymore. You have been so much entrenched into our community over the last. I almost every time I visualize Pallavi ji, I visualize her in those Dejhorus. So that's the image. I mean, obviously, while growing up, you had a different image. We idolized you over screen, and Vivek ji, I mean, we've grown so fond. I mean, the amount of love, the amount of respect, the amount of thankfulness that we have broadly as a community, it's hard to express in words. So without being in between your and KOA Youth's conversation, I again formally welcome you to this forum. And I'm really looking forward for our young guns, Sharika, Sidhi, and Riya, to have a conversation with you and learn more about your journeys. With that, over to you, Sidhi.
Thank you, Paranko, and thank you, Vivekji and Pallaviji, for joining us today. Before we jump in, my name is Sidhi Raina, and I am one of the youth directors for the Kashmiri Overseas Association. And with me, we have Sharika and Riya. They are two young KP youth volunteers for this organization as well in the Zone 8 region. But I will get us kick-started. Namaskar, everyone, and welcome to a very special event brought to you by the Kashmiri Overseas Association, From Kashmir to Bengal, the Final File. Today, we're honored to host an exclusive conversation with the minds and hearts behind of Indian cinema's most impactful film trilogies. As the youth of the Kashmiri Pandit diaspora, many of us have grown up not learning our history through textbooks, but through family stories, catered facts, or sadly silence. This trilogy, the Tashkent Files, the Kashmir Files, and now the Bengal Files, has sparked national and global dialogue by challenging that silence and bringing truth to the screen. As youth leaders, we believe it's critical to have conversations like this where art, history, and identity meet.
So I have the honor of introducing our first guest today, who is none other than Mr. Vivek Agnihotri, a bold filmmaker, author, and changemaker who's used cinema to ask questions that others were afraid to ask. From political thrillers to soul-stirring dramas, his films are not just stories, they're investigations, provocations, and sometimes even awakenings. And I can say that for a lot of our community. Creative force behind the Files trilogy and has consistently used his platform to amplify suppressed narratives. With the Bengal Files, he concludes a cinematic journey that began with Tashkent and continued with Kashmir, a journey that aims to unearth truths buried under decades of neglect and discomfort. We are incredibly honored to hear firsthand about his vision, challenges, and hopes for storytelling and what it can achieve in today's world.
Joining him is the phenomenal Pallavi Joshi, of course, an artist whose career has spanned decades from television screens to global stages. Whether she's portraying a fierce antagonist, a heartbroken mother, or a truth-seeking journalist, her roles leave a lasting impact. She is not only a national award-winning actor, but also the producer behind the Files trilogy. What makes her journey so compelling to me is her versatility. She has never been afraid to break type, take risks, and dive into roles that challenge both her and the audience. Many of us grew up watching her on Indian television, and to now see her shaping narratives that spark global dialogue is nothing short of inspiring.
So thank you again for joining us today. We have just a list of questions we'd like to go through, and also we have introduced a rapid fire segment in this talk, so I'm hoping we're able to get to that. But Vivekji, my first question is for you. As everyone knows, that this film marks the final chapter in your Files trilogy. What connects the Tashkent, the Kashmir, and the Bengal File in your vision? And what did you set to achieve this through this arc?
Okay, thank you. I'm delighted to talk to three brilliant, wonderful, young Kashmiri people. There's one question which has been in my mind for a very, very long time, which is, what does this democracy mean after all? The whole purpose was democracy after India's partition. was to ensure that every citizen has right to truth, right to justice, and right to live. Do we have them? So to probe these three questions, I decided to make a trilogy. The first film, The Tashkent Files, dealt with the question of right to truth. The question we raised was, do we know the truth of our second Prime Minister's so-called death or murder, whatever? And if we don't know the truth about our own Prime Minister's death, then how do we ensure right to truth for ordinary citizens? In the second film, The Kashmir Files, we raised the question of truth to justice. We said if the native Kashmiri population, which is Kashmiri Pandits, if for 35 years they have not got justice, then how do we ensure that a common man gets justice in our democracy? And now with the Bengal Files, we are raising the question of right to live, right to life. The entire proposition of India's partition was based on the principle that, okay, because Hindus and Muslims can't live together, and if we divide them into two different countries, then there will be no communal violence and people will live. Nobody will be able to kill anybody else in the name of religion. And that's why India became a democracy, a secular state, and a constitutional state. But 78 years later, since the independence, we still have communal violence everywhere. You must have read the news about what happened in Kashmir, in Pahalgam recently. In Pahalgam, people were killed on the basis of religion. They were asked if they were Hindus. They were asked to drop their trousers and they were checked if they were Hindus or not. And then they were killed. So 78 years later also, if people are being killed in the name of religion, then do we have right to life? So I wanted to probe these three broad questions. And in two films, we did it very successfully. And I hope in the Bengal Files, which is a continuation of the Kashmir Files, by the way, because when you will see the film, you'll realize how Kashmir is woven into this. My idea is to tell people that Bengal is also becoming like Kashmir because the same strategy, same tactics are being followed over there also. So this is the best I can summarize the thought behind this trilogy.
Thank you so much for sharing, Vivek ji. We really appreciate that perspective. So our next question will be for Pallavi ji, where I wanted to know your roles across this trilogy, especially in Kashmir Files as well, has been so like layered and complex, and sometimes it can be even uncomfortable. So how do you mentally prepare to portray such characters, and especially those that may not always be as likable?
Okay, first of all, Sidhi, thank you very much for doing this, and Sharika and Riya, thank you for the lovely introduction that you gave. See, there are two ways to answer your question: A, as a human being, and B, as an actor. I'll answer the B first. As an actor, it's always amazing to get challenges, thrown at you. And Vivek is a master at that. He first in Tashkent Files, he made me a cripple historian, which was a very difficult role to play because it was a very layered character again, because the fact that she's crippled means that she's handicapped with her own biases, with her own prejudices, with her own truth that she wants to sell to the world, that Shastri died of a heart attack and there was no other foul play in it. So those, I had to peel off the layers to bring out the real essence of the character out. And then the second time round, when we were doing the research for Kashmir Files, and we met innumerable Kashmiri families and heard their stories, I was interviewing them personally. So after having lived through that pain with the families, to play the antagonist in the same film was really difficult for me on a human level. Part of me hated my character so much that I was, there were times when I was hoping that how I wish I wasn't an actor and I was just a producer of the film, so that my mission to take the message across to people would have been like, unilayered and not multi-layered. But thinking from an actor's point of view, I thought that since I was equipped with so much research, I knew exactly how to portray the professor, because she had to personify the hatred of the entire community. The very fact that she's propagating a free Kashmir, that she's propagating a state which is intrinsically a Muslim state, and Hindus had nothing to do with it. This very thought, I knew how troubling it was for the Kashmiri Pandits, for the Kashmiri Hindu community. And when I approached that character, I realized that since I'm equipped with the entire research, maybe I'm the best person to play this character. And there were times on sets, when I would give a shot and I would turn around and tell Vivek that I hate this, I just hate this. Please show me this shot again. And we would see it on the monitor. And normally as an actor, when you see yourself on the monitor, your reaction is like, "Ha, bhai, acha shot hua. This is a good shot." My reaction used to be, "I hate this." When I would say I hate this, that means it was a good shot. So that's exactly what happened. And then in Bengal Files, Vivek keeps throwing me these curveballs. So in Bengal Files, he's given me a character which is so complex. I think it's probably one of the most difficult characters that I've had to portray. But having said that, there's one thing I would like to say about Vivek. Throughout the research of Kashmir Files, though I was involved 100% in the research, I could see Vivek's commitment to the project. And I always wondered what is making him go that extra mile. And the fact that he has carried the Kashmir narrative in the Bengal Files somewhere, I don't know, has led me to believe that, Mr. Jeevan Zuchi had spoken to us about Purani Kashmiris, jo Azadi ke waqt, they had to leave Kashmir, jab Kabaile ne attack kiya tha. And there was the group of Kashmiri Hindus, which they had to leave the valley, and a lot of them were killed. I somewhere feel that maybe Vivek was one of those souls who got killed in Kashmir and was reborn as Vivek Agnihotri. I think there is some very deep connection that he has with Kashmir, because he's just not letting go of the cause. And we have finished with the Kashmir Files. We are now doing the Bengal Files. But for him to still carry on that sentiment and still bring Kashmir into Bengal, it has to be something, there has to be a past life connection here. I'm sorry, I'm being very philosophical here. And,
Absolutely not. I think it is very important that you shared that too, because as filmmakers, going to, I believe, 700 Kashmiri Pandit families and interviewing them to understand the story, the pain, and our history is incredible and honestly very applaudable. I wish I could, give a standing applause right now, but it is insane on how much importance you gave to it, and catching those nuances. I've interviewed so many youth after watching the Kashmir Files. The Gopinath that is sitting in Mitunda's house, and the food and everything. I think it is incredible on how you have captured everything in the Kashmir Files, and obviously how you mentioned the interview process and the process going into the film for the Kashmir Files. I think left us all shaken and shook it. Like my father also mentions, and so many other Kashmiri families, like after 32 years, people were finally able to mourn and talk about it. And Vivekji, my papa had actually DM'd you, saying that as brothers of Girija Tikku, they were finally able to speak about it and understand the pain that we went to, that they couldn't in that moment. So again, from the bottom of our hearts of the KP community, I think we're so thankful for how you have still carried our story, not just through these files, but also through the series after the film. And I know Riya is very eager to ask a question to Pallavi ji about her journey, so I will give it back to her.
Yes, thank you so much for your incredible insight. We as viewers never get to see these two perspectives, and it's incredible to hear your journey. I don't have any acting experience, so it's definitely really interesting to hear the mindset of an actress. So before we go back to Vivek ji, one more question for Pallavi ji right now. Can you walk us through the month-long transformation into a century-old character, physical and psychological?
Oh God, that was probably
And
the
I
most
think
difficult.
not to mention, I think Riya found some article where you have had to give up on a lot of, pampering to get into this character.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I was so interested and wanted to ask more for sure.
yeah, I know. But the norm is that, I mean, I think the whole world wants to look young now, Everybody's like really scared to look old. Um, so I also do fall into that pattern where I do pamper my skin a lot because I don't think I've really come to terms with my middle ages also. But you know, any character that is thrown my way, I think I live for the roles that I get. And I think it's brilliant that I was chosen to be an actor in this lifetime, because within one lifetime, I get to experience so many different lives. And the only way to experience them is to really get under the skin of the characters. So every time I approach a new script, the character that I'm playing, I write a complete backstory. Uh, I want to know where she was born, how she was raised, who her parents were, what profession were they in, or was her mother a working woman, or was she a homemaker? Was her father patriarchal, or was he supportive of his wife? And I mean, all these things. So we generally create a whole backstory. Now, the problem with this film, this character in the Bengal Files, was that the youth of the character is shown, and then we suddenly see this woman as a very, very old lady who's just not dying. I mean, she's that old. So the 77 years in between, since India got freedom till date, is something that I had to create. And yes, there are a lot of, very old women who don't look their age, blah, blah, da, da. But when you say that you're going to portray a 90-something woman on screen, I have to look like her. So my entire, the process that I went through was, it was a little, how should I say? It was a little Riyaz based, because I had to do it over and over again until it became a muscle memory. Fortunately, unfortunately, my father has dementia and he's 95 years old. So somewhere, while looking after him, I also got my character there. I kept observing him more and more, not just as a daughter, but as a professional. Looking at him, seeing how he keeps repeating things, how he forgets, whenever he forgets, and when he comes back to that topic, comes back to the same question that he's asked like 10 seconds ago, how his eyes change, what changes in his expression, how he forgets, what gives you the signal that he's forgotten. So I had to study all that. And it was while we were shooting, not a lot of people understood what was happening, but I think as we started editing the film and as the character started growing, and then with all the post-production, when everything started coming together, this character started making a lot of sense. And I really hope, because the film is not released yet, so it's the word is not out, the verdict is not there yet. I don't know how I've done in the film, but it was a process, and I had to, there was a lot of slack time after we finished the shoot. And since all the habits had become a muscle memory, for me to even get up from my chair, I had to like I took a few seconds to get up, and I kept doing that in my real life also. And my children kept telling me, Mom, shoot's over. You're a normal person now. You can get up and you can sit down. You have no problem with your knees. So for me to get back to normal, it took me some time again, because unless you don't make things your muscle memory, I don't think you can really justify the character.
It is
So
incredible what you have to do to get into this character. Especially, I remember the Kashmir Files. I was like, get her off my screen. I can't deal, But I still, it's like, it's insane on how much prep work you have to do as an actor. But Vivek ji, I want to get a directorial perspective now. So your films have dealt with a lot of suppressed histories. There's a few parts to this question, so I can break it down. There is obviously a balance between cinematic storytelling and historical accountability, and with that comes the research that you put behind these films. Just how Pallavi ji explained, and how everyone knows the research you have done behind the Kashmir Files. How does that look? How does this research look while doing these films for Bengal Files and Tashkent Files? And again, how do you balance those facts and the narratives and all these emotions when you're honestly doing like a historical portraying a historical tragedy?
Okay, so the biggest problem with history is that it's very complex. And what makes it complex is that there are so many books are written, so many speeches are given, so many articles are there, and they are from different perspectives. One from the victim's perspective, one from the perpetrator's point of view, one from the exploiter's point of view, one from the opportunist's point of view, different ideologies. So everything becomes so complex that people don't even know what is right and what's wrong. So films are called the highest form of art, because this is the only form of art which has audio, video, and the third dimension also, which is the Z-axis, which means the depth you can see. No other art has that quality. And it's also mass media. Mass media means that millions of people are going to watch it, or in a theater, 400 people are going to watch it. There can be somebody who is just a school dropout, and there can be a person who's a PhD or a scientist, or there can be a historian, there can be somebody who has no clue about history. There can be Gen Z, and there can be what boomers you call them, right? Late boomers, whatever they are, baby boomers, yeah, right? So all kinds of generation. But you have to find common denominator. You have to say something which everybody understands. So I said, either I can show off to people, hey, look, I know so much. That is also one way of doing it. Or I make people understand the most complicated, most complex history in the simplest possible form. So that's how I have been making these films. And like the Kashmir Files, it's a very complex politics, There are, if you say so many people were killed, people say no, only 100 FIRs were there. How can you say thousands were killed? Now, how do you explain to people that at that time, people were so scared they didn't go to police station, because going to police station meant more killings? So they were scared of the police, so they refused to. Second, they were running away from the city. So how can they go to the police station? Now, how do you tell these people? So then, therefore, I use a lot of cinematic values. And Kashmir Files was my first attempt to tell a very complex, very theoretical thing in a very emotional way. And that was the foundation. And in the Bengal Files, you'll find I've taken it a step further. This is like a more complex story. India's partition is one of the most complex subjects, If you look at it from Pakistan's point of view, then all the Hindus look bad. If you look at it from Hindus' point of view, all Muslims look bad. Truth lies. In life, I have learned there is fact and there is fiction. The truth lies somewhere in between, So to discover that and tell that. And also, I have learned a lot while researching with Kashmiri Pandit community. And what I found, you were asking Pallavi the question about her dementia, the old age. I found most of the Kashmiri Pandit homes I went to, they had grandmothers or they had their mothers or fathers. I met all of them. A whole lot of them had dementia. A whole lot of them had dementia. In fact, in Jammu, I went to somebody's house. Most of your parents and everybody knows them. I don't want to take their name publicly, but I very, very senior activist actually, who kept the flame burning of Kashmir Pandit activism. I went to his house. His mother was 90 plus, and she had no clue whether what's happening in Kashmir. But when I met her, she just held my hand. She said, "Okay, we are going to Kashmir this summer. I'm going to take you there, and I'll show you this. I'll show you that." She became the backbone of Anupam Kher's character in Kashmir Files. When Anupam Kher says, "Oh, ठंड लग रही है, जाड़ा हो रहा है," in the heat of Delhi, he's saying that it's very cold, the snow is falling, and then when he's dying, he says, "I'll take you to Kashmir and I'll show you this, and we won't go by train, we'll go by car, because by car you see such beautiful things." All that came from there. And that dementia.
It was dementia plus PTSD, both.
Yeah. But then this relationship between Krishna Pandit, who was the protagonist in Kashmir Files, and this old man never left me, It kept haunting me. And I think the alter ego of that character became here in Bengal Files. The protagonist of the Bengal Files is Shiva Pandit. So he's a Kashmiri Pandit boy. And he meets this old Bengali woman over there who's very, very old. I'm almost as old as India's independence. And he meets her there and he forms a relationship which is impossible to define, whether it's a mother-son relationship, what kind. And she also had dementia. Now, how do you communicate with somebody who has dementia? And especially, how do you learn what happened through somebody who has dementia? So the problem of this relationship remains the same, which you saw in the Kashmir Files, but in Bengal Files, you'll see it in a different form. So this is taking the story of Kashmiri Pandits forward, but this time, earlier they were just the victims, but this time they are the victims who are going to warn another community in another state that, hey, this happened with us and this is going to happen with you, so please beware.
Thank you so much, Vivek ji. I just want to say that I think on a personal level, I think it's left all of us in your art form has just left all of us in awe. I know that speaking from a Kashmiri Pandit family, seeing that on screen, seeing Anupam Kher's character on screen and seeing that sort of longing for going back to when things were okay in Kashmir, I think it left a mark in all of us as much as it may have on you as a director. And I just think it's truly applaudable. But I am curious about in your art form, what made Bengal the right choice for the conclusion of this series? I think I'd read that before it was named Bengal Files, it was called the Delhi Files. So how did you end up choosing between the names of the movies and how'd you end up concluding with that series?
Okay, so what really has bothered me since my childhood is communal violence. And I always fail to understand that how people in the name of religion kill others. And this has always made me uncomfortable. But earlier I was young, so it's a taboo subject. It's very, very taboo subject. Difficult to talk about it publicly, to express your views. But now I'm senior, I don't have much to lose, So, and also I said, it became like a mission of my life. I said, okay, this is one thing I must highlight and speak about it as honestly. Kashmir Files gave me that courage, and the success of Kashmir Files. I said, now we should talk about India. Okay. Now I have made people aware about that the problem is in Kashmir, that I have to make people aware that there are lots of mini Kashmirs, evolving in India, and not organically, but as a strategy. So Bengal, when I had gone there many times, once I had gone there, and I realized that whatever is happening in Bengal is exactly what happened in Kashmir few decades ago. I mean, before 90s, somewhere in 70s. So I could connect with that, the pain of people. Then we interviewed lots and lots of victims of Direct Action Day. Direct Action Day was the call from Muslim League to annihilate all Hindus in Kashmir, in Calcutta. So I met all these 100-year-old Bengalis, who were the victims of Direct Action Day. And when I heard their stories, they were not very different from the stories I heard from Kashmiri Pandits. The sentiment was the same. The feeling of loss and pain, everything was more or less the same. So I said, okay, I have to make this film. Earlier, it was called the Delhi Files. We were planning to make it in two parts. First, the Bengal chapter, and the second was another chapter. I thought I'll start with Kashmir and go back via Bengal and to Kashmir so that all Indians realize that. And I'm also using this film to unite all the Hindus, Indians, of course, but primarily Hindus, unite them at least with one emotion that it is now high time. We have to decide. Because India's progress is affected a lot. Kashmir, you say, once you get into communal turmoil, it's very difficult to progress. Kashmir, despite everything, despite the abrogation of Article 370, it's very difficult. It was progressing so well. I had gone there, Pallavi and I had gone there some time back. We went for the inauguration of Kashmir Unreported. After that also I have gone there. Things were looking so bright, so wonderful. Economically, it was growing. But see, after Pahalgam, what happened? One communal act of violence, of religious violence, and see where it is gone. Taken 2 steps forward, taken 10 steps backwards. Now it will take another many years for Kashmir to come back to the same track. So, therefore, this film, The Bengal Files, is one of the most important films, I think, of our times. And this will make people sit up and understand, yeah, it's a little more intense film than Kashmir Files. So that's why I say if Kashmir hurt you, this is going to haunt you. Because Kashmir story is very painful because Kashmiri Pandits left Kashmir and they lived with their pain for 35 years. But in Bengal, they are fighting, And recently there was a riot in Murshidabad and lots of Hindu families had to leave, migrate, and there was mass exodus, exactly like Kashmir. A lot of people say, so what? They left one city of Bengal, went to another city of Bengal. But the same thing happened during 90s in Kashmir also. People migrated from Srinagar to Jammu, which is part of the same state. And like in Kashmir, you can ask your parents, lots and lots of daughters were sent to Jammu so that they are safe. Same thing is happening in Bengal. Bengalis are sending their daughters away, their young kids away so that they are safe. So this is why I said, instead of calling the Delhi Files Bengal chapter, it was becoming difficult for me to communicate with Delhi Files. People thought that there are Sikh riots, but that was not the intention. So I said, let's go straight forward. Then I did a poll on internet. I asked people, so thousands of people wrote, call it the Bengal Files. And I make people's films, so I surrender to people's wish. Hence the Bengal Files.
You've made it more than obvious that you're completely dedicated to talking to the people and getting the stories, and I find that all just so incredible. Not only do you have the skills as the writer, and the producer and the director, but to have like the willingness and the motivation to want to seek out the stories, to seek out the truth. It's so beautiful and so just I can't even put it into words how appreciative I am towards you and for you bringing the full stories. Honestly, when I first saw Kashmir Files, it was definitely a defining moment for me. Like, even as a Kashmiri Pundit myself, I know like bits and pieces of the story, but I never got to see the full range of it all at all because it's just so hard for my parents or my family to really talk about it. So to see someone encapsulate everything and put it into one film, I think it brought awareness to a lot of people amongst the youth, definitely. And I just want to say on behalf of the youth, I'm so appreciative to you because of that. So with that, just the way you have connected with people behind the scenes has truly shown up on the screen and left us all shaken especially in various scenes in Kashmir Files. So this is a question for both Vivek ji and Pallavi ji. We want to hear your perspectives as director and as actor. Were there moments on set during these trilogies filming that emotionally shook you or left a mark? And was there a particular scene during Kashmir Files or the Tashkent Files that was especially difficult for you to conceptualize or shoot emotionally? Maybe for this upcoming movie, Bengal Files, as well, if there were any scenes that were particularly difficult for the both of you.
You go first, Vivek.
You go, you start.
Okay. See, I have been an actor all my life. I've, produced a lot of stuff. And every time, we watch the monitor while the actors are performing, all of us are like, very excited, and we're like, yes, now we've got a good shot. This is a good shot. नहीं, एक और करते हैं यार, और बेहतर हो सकता है. Whatever. So we are always, very up about the whole thing, that very excited. However, when we were shooting Kashmir Files, especially all the scenes between Darshan and Mitunda at Brahmadatt's house, every single scene, when we were watching it on the monitor, we just couldn't keep a straight face. We always had tears in our eyes. Because here we were watching these scenes, these visuals, which were brought alive by the actors. And these were the same stories that we had heard from the Kashmiri Pandit families. So we knew that they are real stories. We knew they were real emotions. And here are these set of incredibly talented actors who are actually, doing justice to this story and bringing out the honest emotions. So there was not a person, even down to our spot boys who were not a part of the research team at all, but even they would stand and sometimes have tears in their eyes. And on a regular basis, the assistants, our research team, our technical people, whoever were sitting in front of the monitor, were always in tears. And during Bengal Files, I must say that there were, times very unlike Kashmir Files. Every time we sat in front of the monitor, every time we saw a shot, there was so much anger within us. We were like, man, this is like, why is this happening? And completely forgetting the fact that there were actors performing, that this is a scripted scene. Because the research, we knew the facts, and Vivek managed to write a script which was so real that we actually thought that all this is, sometimes, in spite of being an actor, being in this profession for the last 50 years, sometimes you get so carried away that you forget that there is a film being made. And I think the whole, how do I say, the credit goes completely to the actors who make you forget that this is fiction, and they make it seem like reality. So we have some brilliant performances. And there was one thing I must tell you, there is a particular scene at the end of the film where I am talking to Darshan and I'm telling him what actually happened in 1946. And it was like a huge, long shot of about 3.5 minutes where I'm vomiting out. I'm just talking, I'm crying, and I'm talking out. And there's this, this really old woman who's, for the first time, has got some kind of, voice, and she has somebody that is going to listen to her, and she's just pouring her heart out. Now I'm performing the scene, and I'm crying in the scene, and my co-actor is crying in the scene, and there is like pin drop silence on the sets. And the shot gets over, and I don't hear cut. Okay. So I'm still performing, I'm still crying, and I still don't hear cut. And then I realized that there's something wrong. Okay. So I need to save myself because I can't be crying so much. If I have to give another take, I need to like control myself. So I just stopped. And I looked at our DP, our director of photography. I just looked at him and I suddenly raised my eyebrows. I was out of character and I said, Kya hua? And he just very slowly left his camera and he said, Bahut acha hua. And I'm waiting for Vivek. I'm waiting for somebody to tell me whether the shot is okay or we need one more. And I don't hear anything from Vivek. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I think I've completely messed up. I've gone overboard. Maybe I've hammed my way through the shot. Maybe Vivek has not liked it. So very slowly I make way to where the monitor is, and there was nobody there. Vivek is not there. The assistants are not there. The spot boys are not there. And I'm like, what is happening? And suddenly I hear a sniffle outside and I see Vivek come back in, wiping his tears. And I was like, yes, I think I've done it, I've given a good shot. So now, I mean, these are the moments which, in actors' life, they matter a lot. But when you actually see the film, you realize that it's just a drop in the ocean because there are so many brilliant scenes in that film, which Vivek has witnessed in totality. I probably haven't. I'm just concentrating on my scenes.
Yep. I know, Vivekji, you have to drop, but Pallaviji, that was a great answer. And I think we have a better segment for Vivekji to actually answer rather than this question. And I think it's something we're all anticipating. It's our rapid fire round. But it's for both of you guys, so you guys can chime in. We're calling this the final file face-off. So we've heard all the deep stories, the vision, the challenges, but now we're hoping to bring out, I don't want to say fun, but a little fun and a little instinct. We're going to throw a series of questions. I think it's just about 10 questions and just like quick answers. Like which film do you think best signifies this question? Again, no explanations, no justifications, just your gut instinct answer. So, I'll ask the question and then Vivekji and Pallaviji, you guys can go off of each other based on which film you think better signifies it. So, starting off, which film had the most emotionally intense scenes?
Bengal Files.
I would say the Kashmir Files, yeah.
Okay. We'll probably have to have a conversation between the two of you after this. Which shoot was the most challenging overall?
From the producer's point of view, Kashmir Files. From
Okay.
an actor's point of view, Bengal Files.
Yeah, true. From a director's point of view, the Kashmir Files, and from a human being's point of view, Kashmir Files. From a director's point of view, the Bengal Files.
Yes. Which film script felt the most powerful from the start?
Tashkent
The
Files.
Bengal Files.
For me,
So
it
we
was
have split opinion everywhere. Yeah, Bengal Files. See, Bengal Files is a more complex script, because it has too many issues. India's independence. It's studying India from partition till now, so it's very complex. Whereas Kashmir Files was simple. It was only about the pain, nothing else. But this has so many emotions going on at the same.
Correct.
For me, it was the Tashkent Files because I think we hit the nail on its head right at the first attempt. With Bengal Files, we struggled a lot. Vivek wrote about 10 different scripts, and I'm not talking about drafts. I'm talking about scripts. They were like different stories. And the 10th story was when we finally said that, yes, this is working. And then it got into like almost 18, 19 drafts.
Crazy. Okay. Then I think this is a good question next. Which project surprised you most with how audiences reacted?
I would say the Tashkent Files.
Okay.
Kashmir Files, of course. I mean, if you
Kashmir
look at it
Files.
commercially, but I knew that I have a lot of faith in people's hearts. It's the mind which corrupts you. It's the mind which makes you inhuman. But people's heart at the end of the day, I mean, tears is something everybody makes you cry. A death is something as the common emotion. So I knew that Kashmir Files will connect to people. I didn't know that so many people other than Kashmiri people will see this film and love the film and they will feel one after seeing the film. But the Tashkent Files was a very complex intellectual film. I didn't know that it will become such a big hit and people will understand it. And especially the youth. I mean, the biggest audience of the Tashkent Files is the youth.
For me, it is Kashmir Files because while we knew that it will connect with the people, the fact that it became a movement, and then there were people who took out tricolors, like this unending march of tricolor, which ran into miles, and all these videos when they started surfacing, that was completely unprecedented. You normally never get such reactions for any movie.
Yes. Okay, then on the more creative perspective as a director and actor, which one pushed you the most creatively, either as a director or an actor?
For me, it was okay. You go first.
See, I'll tell you, sometimes few things happen. You don't plan them, they happen. The climax of the Kashmir Files, I don't think I can ever repeat in my lifetime. And you won't believe it. That shot was taken in real time. It was a 3-4 minute long scene, 5 minute long scene. It happened in last 5 minutes of the day. And after the last bullet was fired, there was no light. So Anupam Kher came to shoot, but we couldn't shoot and there was no light. And after that shot, everybody just sat down. Nobody spoke to anybody. Nobody looked at anybody. We had planned more scenes to shoot. We just packed off. That is something I don't think can ever happen in my lifetime. So for me, that was the most emotional scene ever. The climax scene of the Kashmir Files.
Yeah, for me, I think because of all the research, I knew exactly how Radhika Menon should be. So I think the challenge of the character per se was more with Aisha Ali Shah in Tashkent Files and of course Ma Bharti in Bengal Files. And Aisha Ali Shah was still fine, but Ma Bharti is something else altogether. I really don't know. I'm very nervous about that character.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody who has a mother or father or grandmother, anybody who has a mother will cry seeing Pallavi as Ma Bharti in the film. I mean, it's very rarely anybody has done such an emotional scene in long time.
Got it. Okay. Last question for this round. It is a kind of hard question, I think, but which film's message do you think I would say all of them, but which film's message do you think will stay relevant the longest?
Bengal Files, the Bengal Files, definitely.
Bengal. Okay.
I think all three of them, because if we have managed to question the basis of our democracy, the three pillars on which the democracy stands, truth, justice, and right to life, I think in years to come, maybe all these three questions will be talked about. I hope to see a better India, a better tomorrow, for our children and grandchildren to come. But yeah, these are three very pertinent questions. So I think all three films.
Yes, absolutely. And I think to wrap up our session today, there's just one final Bengal Files related question that Sharika wants to ask before we do end this. But thank you for participating in our rapid fire this evening.
Were we rapid enough?
Yes, absolutely.
It is hard to be rapid with these types of movies and conversations, but one last conversation I was hoping to have,
1
especially
second, before you say anything,
yes.
I hate rapid fire rounds. I do so many interviews. I tell them, please don't do this with me. Leave it for Bollywood people. But if somebody does these kind of rapid fire rounds, I'm most welcome. I'm always willing to do that. This is one of the best I have. You guys have applied a lot of mind and brilliant job, three of you. May Ma Saraswati bless you as much as she did.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, Vivek. We really appreciate that. We put a lot of thought into these questions for sure. And I guess one final question we wanted to leave you both off with is that we know you have a strong connection to Bengal Files and how it was filmed and acted upon. If there's one conversation that you hope Bengal Files will spark in every single home, every classroom, every corner of the country or even the globe, what would that be and why?
Okay, the main question would be that two things. Number one, the absence of humanity, what it can do. Second is the mob. What you will experience in the film is what mob is capable of doing and why we should be scared of mobs, fanatic religious mobs. But the bigger question which should be raised is that what is the reason that despite all the technology and so much of advancement, there is not even one day in this world when people are not killing each other because of communal violence or religious violence. Why is it that 78 years since the independence, India is still fighting the communal violence like it did before the independence? This is one debate, one conversation I want every parent, every child, every home, every family, every school, classroom. I think this is my objective with this film. I want this conversation to be ignited. Unless people start talking about it, it's never going to be solved. If we are going to shy away from it, run away from it, this is not going to be solved. So if this conversation begins, that will be the real success of this film. This is my mission here.
Thank you so much. And Pallavi ji, if you have anything to add to that.
Well, I think Vivek has pretty much said it all. I don't think I have anything more to add to it, but yeah, the only thing that I would like to add is that see, Bengal Files, when you watch the film, it is. I love the way Vivek has written the script, the way he's handled the film, because there is such a thin line that he's tread upon. It may, make you think that maybe it's not the kind of film that you had thought it to be, but it is a very, very spiritual film. So when I would just say that, if people come to the theater with the right intention and not just to come to watch a movie, but to see history unfold, then they will take back the correct message. And sometimes you have to put yourself out there. You have to tread that very thin line where, things can go wrong, a step here and a step there. You could be making very bold and wrong statements. So Vivek has managed to tread that line very well in this, and I'm really proud of him for doing that. Yeah, let's see.
So tell me something, Riya, Sidhi, and Sharika. You guys are going to come and watch the movie?
Absolutely. And we will
Okay.
bring friends along with us. That's what we did for
Yeah.
my father. My papa very graciously gave me the offer, take friends with you. I will pay for their ticket. And I took my friends and non-Kashmiri friends, non-Indian friends have gone to watch this film because I have said you must watch it if you appreciate me.
Yeah, in lieu of this interview, I actually told all my friends that if you haven't watched Kashmir Files already, go do that, watch the trilogy. And on top of that, like I also our family also brought our family friends along to watch the movie. I mean, it's like the first time that I think our stories or traditions and what happened to us was presented in media,
So come and meet me when you are there. Okay, and because this is your story, we are now slowly becoming older. You guys have to keep this flame on. You have to take the baton forward. Come and watch this story. You will learn a lot about India's history and the reasons why, what happened to Kashmiri Pandits, why it's happening to other people. And this is kind of a truth, kind of a story. I don't think anybody will tell later. If it's a successful film, then a lot of people will find the courage like you young people to tell these kind of stories. So I'm going to see all of you. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Vivek ji. And we are at the end of our session, but as we do wrap up today's conversation, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude and thanks to Vivek ji and Pallavi ji for joining us, and more importantly, for trusting the youth with this dialogue. It's quite hard to find such esteemed guests to allow you know, we're in our 20s, late 20s, early 20s, teenagers, like have this conversation with you guys. And it's quite a blessing and honor to be speaking to a very dynamic duo, director, actors, producers. We are very thankful from the bottom of our hearts for you guys to trust this dialogue with us today. But the stories that were shared today, both behind the scenes and beyond the screen, remind us that cinema is not just entertainment. It is the vehicle for truth and courage and change.
And through the Tashkent Files, Kashmir Files, and now the Bengal Files, this trilogy has not only unearthed hidden chapters of history, but also empowered new generation like ours to ask these harder questions and seek deeper understanding. I think this can be echoed between all of like me, Riya, and Sidhi. You know, us being so young as KOA Youth, we're just so honored to be part of that journey, and it's been such a privilege to acknowledge and explore the complexities of representing these lived experiences on screen and understand how artistic vision can engage with national memory and public discourse rather than just being an art form or something to see, something flashy to see. I think it's really important how you guys portrayed this.
So yes, thank you to everyone who tuned in today. We hope you leave the space not only informed, but inspired to listen, to learn, and to never stop seeking the stories that deserve to be told. And hope this discussion has encouraged you to reflect more critically on the narratives that shape our understanding of history and identity. I think watching Kashmir Files really encouraged me to get involved with KOA Youth, and that's why I am here today. So I definitely have so much respect for the two of you. And I hope that more people can watch Bengal Files now and really learn to get involved with their community and see the hard work you're putting in and do the same.
So Sidhi, Sharika, and Riya, I would like to say one thing to you. I'm sure all of you have heard how our children got involved with the Kashmir Files when we spoke to them. I mean, I've said this story a million times. But the fact is that they still continue to be with us, and they were a part of Bengal Files also. And they were such a big part of this film that we probably wouldn't have been able to make the kind of film that we have without, you know, them being on board. So I think we've also reached a stage where we realize that there is a lot that we can learn from, you know, your generation. And the trust that we put in your generation is immense. So as Vivek said, that we will keep, you know, making films and raising, you know, our voice until such a time as we can. But it's your time now, and we have put our faith in you, which also puts a very big responsibility on your young shoulders. But I'm sure you'll be able to, you know, take it forward. And we expect a lot from your generation. So just make us proud. I'm sure you will.
Thank you so much for the
Thank
trust.
you, Orzu.
Thank you so much. Again, it was such a delight to watch this conversation, this dialogue, learned so much myself. And Vivek ji, Pallavi ji, we are eagerly waiting for the Never Again tour. We are looking forward to host you in different cities across US. So wish you ton of success for the Bengal Files.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You guys so
Thank you,
much.
everybody.
You guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.